Hey guys, welcome to another edition of The Remainder. As you head out to your comic book shops today, here are a few books from the last couple weeks that you may have missed. And if you got a couple extra bucks in your pocket, then you probably want to pick them up and check them out. Now, I know it's a big week, you got Siege, that kind of stuff coming out, but there's still a few books you might want to take a look at. Now, DC Comics sent us a copy of Garrison #1. Now, this is a brand new book, brand new series, and it's one of those books that it raises a lot of questions without giving you a lot of answers in the first issue, so it's a little hard to get a full grasp on the series. But basically it breaks down like this. America is in this super police state. They've got cameras everywhere, they're checking on everybody, security is like really tight and hammered down, and this guy Garrison, for whatever reason, has the ability to basically bust through all the security. He can pretty much, it seems like he can be anywhere at any time. And he's not so much a superhero as he is this kick-ass guy in a cowboy hat just kind of randomly appears. It's an interesting idea. There's a lot of neat concepts going on with it, so we'll just have to kind of wait and see how it pans out over the course of the series. But listen, it's from Wildstorm, so you can get a pretty good idea that it's going to be a little bit out there, it's going to be really interesting, and they're going to see it all the way through to the end, which is nice to know. Now we got another sample from DC Comics. This is another one for your consideration, is Sparta USA #3. Now, I've talked about Sparta USA before on the show. I really like the series because it's so completely crazy and out there. And there are times when you listen to the story and you think, okay, they're talking about weird stuff like monsters in the mountains. They're talking about weird stuff like old ladies with magical powers. And you begin to think to yourself, is this just a cover story? Is this something they're telling people as a way to maybe keep them under control, even though it's not exactly true? Well, it's true. In this issue, he actually goes out and fights one of those snow creatures, and so that way you kind of see it happen. You know that it's real. And all this crazy, crazy stuff that they talk about, yeah, it's legit. So I really, again, I still have no idea what this book is really about, but it's one of the most fascinating stories I've read in a long time. Codebreakers #2. Now, if you listened to me before and you picked up a copy of Codebreakers 1, you're going to be in pretty good shape. Codebreakers is an excellent series about guys cracking codes for the CIA. But what happens when one of their members gets abducted and forced to work on a project he really doesn't want to? Well, this is again a series full of espionage. It's full of spies and counter spies and all that kind of stuff. If you're a fan of shows like 24 or movies like The Patriot Games, not necessarily full of action and stabbing somebody in the pen to try to find out where the terrorist bomb is going to be, but you like some of those political thriller type things where there's a lot of the whole espionage and spying and secrets being uncovered and that kind of stuff. This is a great series for that. And this is also one of those books that's written in such a way where as they uncover some of the clues, you begin to learn some of their techniques that they're using, some of the things they're looking for, and when you turn the page, there are actually times when you can flip to a page in the story and you pull out the clues in your mind before they actually speak about them. So it's kind of neat to see how some of that stuff develops in the story. Star Trek Captain's Log Harriman. Now, I'm not the biggest Star Trek geek on the block. I mean, I enjoy some of the movies, and of course everybody my age grew up watching Next Generation, and I enjoyed Deep Space Nine, but not being a huge Star Trek fan, there are certain elements of the Star Trek universe I always found interesting. One of the things about the movie Generations was that it introduced us to a new Enterprise and a new captain, and immediately upon taking control of the ship, this captain is found responsible for killing James T. Kirk, because Kirk goes out and tries to stop the wave, and you've seen the movie. So anyway, this actually tells us the story of the captain of that version of the Enterprise, the guy who took over after Jim Kirk, and the one who has a crew full of people who basically look at him and say, you're responsible for the death of Kirk, even though he's really not. But in this story, we find that Leonard McCoy, Bones, has been drafted on board the ship. He's been pulled out of retirement to take care of some outbreak of a virus, and he and Harriman have to deal with each other and the fact that, really Harriman doesn't know what to do to be a captain. He's not really inept, he's just afraid. And he has a hard time living up to the legacy of James T. Kirk. And so Bones inspires him to become his own man and become a better captain. And so, while again, I'm not the biggest fan of Star Trek in the world, I did find it to be an enjoyable book, and it's one that you should check out. Finally, this is one of my absolute favorite series. Great story, Hellboy in Mexico. Now, if you don't dig this cover, woo, they have this cover, and I just had to buy both because it's basically Hellboy fighting a demon who's masquerading as a lucha libre wrestler. And now I don't know why. For some reason, I have some kind of connection with masked wrestlers. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but regardless, this is again one of those stories with Richard Corbin. Mike Mignola has worked with Richard Corbin a couple times before doing some neat stories, and they've teamed up again for Hellboy in Mexico. It is also known as A Drunken Blur. He wanted to call the story that, but I think Dark Horse said, no, Hellboy in Mexico is going to sell a whole lot more than just a random book called A Drunken Blur. Regardless, though, it's just a fun story. It's a fun, Hellboy deals with a lot of dark stuff. BPRD really gets into a lot of heavy issues and heavy storylines. And this is one of those Hellboy stories where if you haven't read Hellboy in a long time, if you don't know Hellboy outside of the movies, this is a one-shot. You can pick it up. You can get the story. It's fun. It's got a masked wrestler. I mean, what more do you want? Maybe the guy is like my soul. After I die and become evil and corrupted, my soul comes back in Mexico as a Mexican wrestler. It's possible. I mean, weirder things have happened, right? So those are your remainders for this week. So as you head out to the store, make sure you take a look for some of those and pick one or two of them up. You won't be disappointed. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.